Welcome to the Sageology Podcast, where your host Sage shares her astrological and spiritual insights. Sit back, relax, expand your perspective, and enjoy.
Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Sageology Podcast. So, in this episode, we are going to be talking about September's astrology in the whole month of September. So, if you're not familiar with this, I'm going to say the dates, I'm going to say the transits, and then I'm going to kind of like break down the transits. If you're not familiar with astrology, don't get so caught up on the astrological jargon. I'm going to be using terms like retrograde and sextile and square and stuff like that. If you don't know what that means, it's okay. You don't have to know what that means in order to take away something beneficial from this video. All I encourage you to do, if you don't really know what the astrology means, is to listen to the date and listen to how I break down the energy. You want to pay attention to how I break down the energy instead of being concerned with what the terms are. Another thing that I want to talk about as we get into this video is that September is going to be a little bit of a crazy month, y'all. We have eclipses during this month. So, eclipses, think of them as supercharged new or full moons. New and full moons are so important because they initiate new beginnings, right? But they also bring things to light that we need to let go of and that we need to release. So when you have an eclipse, it is a new moon or a full moon that is just like extremely potent. So they are good for manifesting and creating transformative periods in our life. So when we do come into like this full moon eclipse energy, you notice that a lot of things start to change, and you start to notice that you may see like different cycles of your life naturally closing out, different cycles of your life naturally opening up, naturally coming in. And it's just really important to be a little bit introspective, right? Pay attention to your emotions, pay attention to how you are feeling, but it's important not to get carried away in the intensity. Just because full moons, well, some full moons could be eclipses, but eclipses in general can be so intense. It can feel like do or die, like life or death, like you are rushed into having to make a decision or overwhelming, like this coming on. It could be very emotionally intense. So, if you are feeling extremely emotionally intense throughout the month of September, just know that that's okay and take it slow, go easy. Make sure that you are really processing your emotions and just not acting out of impulse, like doing something out of impulse, out of knee-jerk reaction. You do want to make sure that you are relaxing and, like considering things and thinking things through and stuff like that. Um, Another thing I want to say, because it is eclipse season, it's a lot of energy that's happening. So you may be a little tired. If you're a little tired, that's okay. Make sure to take it easy, sleep extra. Do not overwhelm yourself. And if you have control over it, try not to put a lot of things on your plate in the month of September. Just kind of give yourself more time to feel your emotions and to go with the flow and to navigate those changes in an organic way. Um, And yeah, let's really get into this energy. I do feel like this is going to be a lot for our Virgos and for our Pisces. This energy is going to be affecting them the most because these eclipses are on the Virgo Pisces axis. So if you are a Virgo, if you are a Pisces, baby, just lock in. If you're a little bit more advanced in astrology and you kind of know what houses the Virgo Pisces axis is on, then you know what, like areas of life are going to be changing in your chart coming up in the month of September. And the last thing that I'll say about the month of September until I get down into the daily transits is that September is a beautiful month where it's rare that we can experience our faith and our logic blending together harmoniously. So this is a very heady month. November is going to be a very, September is going to be a very heady month, but it's also going to be an immense challenge of faith. So this month you kind of gotta let the wheels of destiny spin whichever way they spin. But know that in the fall, okay, so going into October, November, December, it's really, really good astrology that we don't typically see. And I truly believe that the fall of 2025, the fall of this year, we have a unique opportunity to work with this astrological energy to manifest and create our dream lives. Like, y'all, I'm so serious. I do not say this lightly. I genuinely believe that the astrology of the fall is going to help us manifest our dream life and get ahead of time. Because when we look at all of these outer planets that are in new signs, right, are at the very beginning, and even we're going to experience them, like retrograding back, right? Because I'm getting ahead of myself, but let's just roll with it, right? you know with Saturn being in Aries, but in September Saturn retrogrades back into Pisces. So there's a closing of that chapter. Pluto is firmly now in Aquarius, but we have Neptune being in Uranus, but Neptune's going to retrograde back into Pisces. No, Neptune, I'm sorry, y'all. Neptune in Aries, right? But it's going to retrograde back into Pisces. We have Uranus and Gemini, so it's like we have all of these outer planets at the beginning of these signs at like 0 and 1 degree. So we don't necessarily know how this energy is going to translate. We have ideas of where the world is going to go in the next like 5, 10, 15, 20 years, but we actually don't know because the energy is so, so new. So, like when we see these glimpses of, AI or the social climate, the global climate, or even in America, what's going on politically, we can kind of get the idea of like, you know what, this is a little bit shaky. Things are definitely different. Things are not what they used to be, but we don't exactly know how different they are, right? So, my point of bringing that up is that we are dealing with a lot of energy that we're not familiar with. We're dealing with a lot of energy that we don't necessarily know how it's going to translate. But I do think when working with the energy of these outer planets and working with this new energy, I feel like on a personal level, it's going to come through as little hints and drops from the divine, these little divine nuggets that is up for us to internalize and to do the work to follow the little seeds, follow the little breadcrumbs that the divine is dropping, and just follow those. And I do feel that if you are obedient, it's gonna lead you divinely into your next destination, which is a beautiful, beautiful thing. So back to my original point, right? September is a very unique month where we're going to have like our faith working really well together with our logic. So we have Mercury, the planet of thought process, of logic, of like taking in information and organizing it, is in a sign of Virgo, and Mercury is exalted and it rules over Virgo. So this is very good energy. Like our mind is going to be very sharp during this time. You'll be able to analyze and put things together and make sense of things very well. It's very solid, grounded energy for that. And we also have Jupiter in Cancer. So Jupiter in Cancer is all about our beliefs, it's all about our faith, it's all about our belief system, and it's all about like miracles, like the universe really working out, organizing things to work in your favor, the divine organizing things to work and operate in your highest good and your best good. So with these energies working together, it's like a sense of having a certain level of trust for the divine to fill in the blanks, to fill in the gaps of the things that you don't necessarily know, right? And also a level of self autonomy of you organizing information, or you just kind of like knowing like you're a little bit more perceptive during this time and you're able to, easily put things together and figure it out. So this is very beautiful energy. So this kind of lays the groundwork of September. So let's get into these daily transits. So on September 1st, we have Saturn retrograding back into Pisces. So this is important. Saturn is the planet that deals with discipline, it deals with structure, also deals with time, and it deals with karmic lessons, right? So Saturn was really Saturn was in Aries, but it's retrograded back into Pisces. And Saturn does really struggle to be in the sign of Aries because Aries is an energy of newness. It's the baby of the zodiac, right? Being the first sign. And Saturn is very much an elder energy that is centered around like wisdom and practicality and structures and things of that nature, and it doesn't do well in a sign that is kind of just, like figuring things out, right? So people could struggle with, their discipline or timing or just dealing with new situations with Saturn and Aries and not necessarily knowing how to organize themselves around it, not necessarily knowing how to organize time, not necessarily knowing what to do in that new reality. So with Saturn being in Pisces, the energy shifts. So I do feel like Saturn being in Pisces is more so about, oh, excuse me, y'all, faith, trusting in divine, and also I do think that there's a really communal effort to Saturn in Pisces too, Pisces is the sign where that rules Jupiter and where Venus is exalted. So there's a level of abundance that sits within the sign of Pisces. And Saturn likes to construct, abundance through practicality, through structure, through things of that nature, where Pisces is more so of a sign where you kind of just have to have a good heart, be generous, and believe in the divine and things work for your nature. So I do think that is the challenge when it comes to Saturn and Pisces. You're going to be put into a situation where you kind of just have to trust, where things aren't, you can't really look at the concrete fact, at the concrete details, right? But there's a sense of, I want to experience this, I want to have this, and just trusting in the universe, God, the divine to fill in the rest of those steps. And typically that could be really, really hard. So when we think about this time, you want to start thinking back to what was going on in your life around May, because that was the last time that Saturn was in Pisces, right? So whatever was going on in your life around May could be themes that are resurfacing and coming back into your life that's up for review. Um, but also, the last time Saturn was in Pisces, Jupiter, the planet that rules Pisces, was in Gemini. So there was a very struggle in faith of where there was like almost a sense of wanting to force things or just really wanting things to go your way or just not understanding how things will work out. And it could have just been like a very painful energy to be in, almost like a sense of, I'm doing something, but God isn't listening to me. Like, I don't know if God is listening to me. I don't know if God could hear me, and it could almost been like a very lonely feel. And so, from May into now, we're dealing with this sense of, okay, this is something that I want, or this is where I could see my life going, or this could be like something positive for me, or this is what I'm working on, right? Or this is just, my present life if you are a person who doesn't have any goals. And it's almost a sense of, this could make my life easier, this could make my life better. I don't necessarily know how I'm going to get this. I don't know how I'm going to obtain this, but it's almost a feeling that you just kind of know things are going to work out and you know that it won't be the worst case scenario because Jupiter is in Cancer. So there's could be like a sense of like grayness or ambiguity. I don't think I pronounced that correctly, but y'all know what I'm getting at. So there could just be like a sense of a little bit of like walking in the dark a little bit. Like, I don't know how this necessarily gonna work out. But you know what? There's a sense of ease. It's almost like you don't feel Saturn in Pisces, while Jupiter and Gemini could almost be like you feel deprived by the divine. Like you feel deprived by God, like you're calling on God and like God is not answering, or you're like, or like the universe is just beating you up. Versus Saturn being in Pisces with Jupiter in Cancer, it's almost this feeling of like, You know what? Maybe God's taking a nap. Maybe the universe is taking a nap. I don't feel abandoned, but I think some things are being worked on in the background for me and just kind of trusting that. And so, even though there is a sense of with Saturn being retrograde, is like, like discipline could be just like a little bit hard, like you don't have the motivation to, like do the things to stay on top of it how you would when Saturn is direct. So um just remember that to not let yourself get too far out of line, to stray too far off course. You may be getting that energy, like even if you're an entrepreneur, you have seasons where you're on it, like you're putting out content, you're answering emails, you're networking, like stuff like that. So don't get too like don't and you may naturally get into an energy where you're a little bit more reserved. You don't want to do all of that. Don't let yourself get too far out of alignment, but it's okay to descend into an energy where it's like, what, I'm gonna take it a little bit easier. And then also too, this could really manifest as emotional processing. I do think that this fall is going to be a fall of a lot of emotional processing, just because there's a lot of gunk that we have to clear up, especially when we are, getting back into that new timeline, when Saturn goes back into Aries and Neptune goes back into Aries with Saturn, like so when these energies are really shifted and we're really in that new timeline, you have to clear up like certain baggage with your old timeline, even in like Pluto and Aquarius to be fully grounded in that, or Uranus and Gemini to be fully grounded in that. There's going to be a change in your energy that you don't necessarily recognize yet, like hardcore concretely, but there just may be a lot of emotional processing that the universe is calls you to do that you're expected to do, and that could be tied to different things that are going on in your life. So take time to sit with that, take time to journal with that. If you have a new opportunity that arrives that you don't necessarily know how you feel about, or a relationship with people in your life, your friends, your job, like I do think a lot of things are going to be going up under evaluation. So if you can do just kind of like that more so emotional labor of processing those things emotionally and kind of really sorting out how you feel about it, I do think that you will be 100% okay. So, Saturn in Pisces, like Saturn being retrograde in Pisces, it might be a little bit less about like external doing, and maybe a little bit more so handling your work on a spiritual level, you know? So on September 2nd, we'll have Mercury entering Virgo, and this is really good. So like this is when that spiritual and that logical start to blend and marry together in a very beautiful way. So it could be this sense of, okay, like I need to do this, I need to get on my shit, blah blah blah. This is a structure that I need for things to work out, right? So Mercury in Virgo is like, okay, for my business to work. I'm looking at this spreadsheet. I need to send out this much so emails. We got, like this many sales last month. We're aiming for this many sales. How can we increase sales? Like, let's put up some flyers. Let's do this. Let's do that. And Saturn in Pisces is your relationship with your, father is toxic. And you need to cut off that toxic relationship so you can have more energy to invest into your business. So, like that's just a manifestation of that energy. But it's kind of like a thing where it blends together, where more so if you're more so in your logic mindset, right? You're like, how does my relationship with blah 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 have anything to do with my business? I'm just going to, whatever, continue to do what I do versus with Mercury being in Virgo and Jupiter in Cancer, you're kind of like, I do realize that every time I have a new business goal and I tell them something that they disencourage me and then I'm less likely to do it? So I do think it's a beautiful blend of these energies where kind of on a spiritual level or more so emotional level, you kind of like know what you do and you know what you need to do, whether it's I need to nurture myself more, I need to rest a little bit more, I need to have like care for myself more, have better spiritual practices. or Mercury and Virgo, it's like, okay, these are the things that I practically need to do in order to experience success, in order to achieve success. And you're not discounting either one. You're looking at both of them and you're working together. And it may be a sense of like, let's say you out with your friend and you're doing something, your friend do something weird, and you're like, girl, why are you doing that? But like, really, let's talk about like, why are you doing that? You know? So I like this. I like this. It's really good energy. Mercury and Virgo is good all around. It's also really good for networking, connecting with people, stuff like that. So very good, like planning energy, looking at stuff, taking inventory. Does this work for me? No. Does this work for me? Yes. How can I improve this? How can I improve that? What can I do to improve this? What can I do to improve that? So you're really brainstorming, coming up with solutions and working towards things to be in your best favor and your highest good. So on the third, we have Mercury and Virgo squaring Uranus and Gemini, and Jupiter and Cancer trining the North Node in Pisces. So I love this day. Bookmark this, September 3rd, September 3rd. Pay attention. Okay. So this is a day, like jot this down in y'all notes or something. So this is a day where you are going to start getting those like little downloads and answers to the questions, or just like little ideas that if you pay attention to, it could really take you far. Like, like you can do, you can do something with it. It could work out for you, you know? So just kind of pay attention to that, look out for that. And it's also a really good day for overall alignment. This is a day where you could be talking to your friend about a problem that you have, and then your friend like, girl, why don't you just do this? And you're like, girl, I never knew about that. And it was like, well, yeah, this is what I do in this situation. You could just do this and it'll help you. You're like, oh my God, okay, thank you so much, girl. Thank you for telling me. Thank you for telling me I'm taking your advice, you know? Or you're just on YouTube, you're scrolling and you see an ad and you're just like, oh, this is the thing that I needed. Or an idea just pops in your head and you're like, why did I never think of that? So this is the type of day where, you can find new information that could be really useful to you, then that could help you out with the problem. And I also do think because Jupiter is trining the North Node, is gonna be information that like gets you in alignment, that pushes you towards where you need to go. And so this is a good day to pay attention to. And just know if you kind of have any ideas or thoughts or downloads on this day, and it's just energy that just feels right. It's something that feels right. It's something that you want to do, just listen to it, internalize that information, pay attention to it and follow it, because I really do believe it's going to bring you closer to your destiny. It's going to bring you closer to where you want to go, to where you should go, you know? So on the 7th, we have the Pisces lunar eclipse. So, if anything, listen to my Pisces lunar eclipse episode that's going to be dropping. But I really do feel like, again, so like this is intense energy, y'all. So from the 7th until 11th, there's like a really potent vibe shift that's going to be more so about like releasing things and surrendering to eclipse energy. So when it comes to eclipse energy, it's you have to surrender. You have to go with the flow. It's not something that you can control, even though events may be happening in your life that you may feel like uncomfortable with, and it may be kind of like a sense or scenario where you want to get into control. But a lot of times eclipse energy is bigger than you and it's not necessarily something that you can control. So my best advice is to just like process the information, let it run through your body, like sit with it, like let your nervous system adjust to it, like sit with it. There's really nothing that you have to externally do in the moment. Just be chill, just go with the flow, evaluate, see how you feel, and try to avoid making any permanent decisions if you don't, want to. And just know if it's something crazy happening, it's probably the eclipse. Like, y'all, people be tweaking come the eclipse. So you just at the eclipse chilling and one of your friends crashing out, or your ex is just like crashing out, like blowing up your phone, just be like, it's eclipse energy. That's the eclipse. Like this is the benefit of being an astrology girly or boy or man or woman, whatever you identify as. Oh my God. Like this is the benefit of listening to astrology and to taking information like this. So you cannot be a victim and you can be more so in control. You kind of have like a grounded sense of grounded perspective when crazy things start to happen for you. And you're not just like knee jerk reacting to everything, you know. But I do think that this eclipse is going to be calling us to release something. I do feel like it's very much the energy of taking inventory over our life and just being like, if this is the place that I want to go, if this is where I want to go, if this is where I see myself doing, if God is telling me, if the universe is telling me to have faith for this, to make room for this, like, what is getting in the way of me achieving that? Like, what energies am I holding on to that are not like benefiting me, you know, that are just like in the way of my progress, that are in the way of my growth? So I do think that, you know, like we're going to be experiencing a lot of that in the next couple of days. And it's something to just kind of like pay attention to. And some grief may come with that, and that's okay. Like, if you do experience it, grief and being like, wow, you know, like I really have outgrown my environment. Like, wow, maybe this is really not the best for me. Or wow, maybe it really is time for me to do something else. Like, don't try and just like force yourself and make yourself operate in that reality without processing what comes along with it, because that's how you repeat cycles, y'all. A lot of times we know what's best for us. I'm gonna tell y'all, this is a real gem. I'm gonna tell y'all how people get stuck in cycles, right? So a lot of times, especially when it comes to like spirituality and the spiritual journey. And if y'all haven't noticed yet, I talk about God a lot. And I talk about astrology in a way that empowers people because that's what I believe in. I believe in self growth, I believe in self development, and I want to use my platform to and to use astrology and to talk about astrology in a very empowering way, because in this world of change and chaos that we live in, right? There are so many things that are outside of our control that we just have to deal with. So many things that you can't control, so many things you just gotta take it. They have injustice going on in the world, and it's some people's calling to fight that injustice, and you know, God bless them. God bless their souls. But a lot of stuff that we deal with, or it's like not even injustice, but like our economy, or just like, you know, like the way our society is set up, McDonald's being on every fucking corner, like so much shit that we just can't, we ain't got no control. It's nothing that we can do about it. But it's so important to take autonomy over your life and focus on the things that you can control. So my content is geared towards empowering you to work with the universe in a way where you can be the pilot of your life, right? And I know y'all over here like, well, Sage, why the hell are you telling me to on focus on things that I can't control or whatever, but you're also telling me that I can't control this eclipse energy? Aren't you contradicting yourself? What I'm trying to say is there's a way of like taking accountability for yourself and working on yourself internally and taking control over your mindset, your thought process, how you think about things, how you go about life, like your at the attitude that you have, right? Versus trying to control things in your external reality, you know, and trying to force things to make things go your way. Ultimately, that's just going to manifest in stress and chaos, especially if you're a woman. So that's why I talk about astrology in this very like human-centered, very spiritual way, because astrology is such an expansive tool. You can talk about it and use it to like talk about like, you know, personality archetypes or things that are going on in the world, and there's so many different things that you can do with it. But here, you know, Sage the astrologer, we gonna talk about How can we work with this energy to make your life better? And that's the whole point of y'all being invested in this type of stuff and listening to this type of content. So when you start to see these energies reflect in your life, you know how to work with them. You're not a victim of it. You're not feeling stressed and crazy and chaotic because the planet is doing something. You turn around and go and crash out. You can have a sense of understanding that this is the time that we are in. This is the energy of the cosmos, of the skies being reflected in my personal life. This is all intentional, and we live in a universe of structure, you know, and having like a sense of finding a sense of empowerment in that, and hopefully being grounded in that and knowing how to work with that, you know. Um, so yeah, I forgot my original point before I went off on that tangent, but let's just continue with the energy. So on the 10th, September 10th is also a good important day to pay attention to. This is something I will write down, y'all. Like September 10th, so we have the sun conjoining the south node in Virgo. So and then on the 10th, the sun will conjoin the south node of Virgo. And then on the 11th, Mercury will conjoin the south node of Virgo. So this is letting you know that this is something that you got to let go, baby. You have to release control. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. But you have to release control on these days. So if you find yourself being triggered on the 10th or the 11th, or you're just being drained, or is pay attention to the things that are triggering you, pay attention to the things that are draining you, because 9 times out of 10, you are holding on to something that you shouldn't hold on to, and it's probably too much. And don't be afraid to let go, because with Jupiter and Pisces, by the end of this transit, there are so many beautiful things that the universe wants to bring into our life. And we cannot allow God to orchestrate blessings for us if we are being trapped into this shit that we have outgrown, and it's truly time to let go of. And I feel like this energy could really be exposing itself on the 10th and the 11th. So if it's something going on in your life and you feel like you are expending too much energy to have things working your way, or it's like super draining you, or you feel like something, or it was just like a person, a thing, or a situation is really taking advantage of you, and you're just like, you know what, this is too much of a sacrifice, this is taking too much from me to maintain, then it's maybe something that you just like need to let go. You need to be open to releasing, and you just need to be open to allowing the divine to work things out in your favor and to experience it more. I can't tell y'all, especially as a woman, right? For women, our bodies are not meant to be able to deal with stress and handle stress. Like cortisol in the female body is poison, it's toxic, it's cancerous. And take it from me, as a person who has been through a extremely stressful time, there's been so many instances in my life where God was telling me, you don't belong here. You need to shift. You need to pivot. Let this thing go. This thing that you are holding on so strongly to is causing you stress, causing you to break out, causing you to gain weight, causing you to look ugly, causing you to feel ugly, just creating a level of chaos in your life. And there's almost like a sense of wanting to hold on to it because you don't know what's next, and you don't want to go into the unknown. You don't know what your next steps are. And a lot of times, God don't tell you what's next, because if you knew what's next, you will sabotage it. You will jinx yourself out of it, because you are so stuck and gridlocked into a level of survival to where you can't even really fully comprehend or lean into something that's truly good for you. because you so stuck to it, used to being in a cycle of abuse. So think of it like this. Think of it as if kind of think of this energy as a relationship, right? Or what's going on the 10th and the 11th. If it's like a relationship, well, whatever it is, right? Whatever in your life, right? Whatever energy in your life, whatever thing in your life, right? But if it's a relationship where you're doing all the planning for date night, you're doing all the emotional checking in, you are the only one who making sure that y'all are on track or y'all are going where y'all need to go, that the relationship is going on track, that the relationship is being a lot of energy. If you are doing all the labor in the relationship, and there's no sense of the relationship working with you, like, you have to think, does the thing that I want doesn't want me back? Is this too much to maintain? Is this too much for me to keep up with? If it is, then you should just probably let it go, you know? So on the 12th, September 12th, the Sun and Mercury in Virgo will be sextiling Jupiter in Cancer. So, you know, 10, 11th, you feeling shitty, like, oh, I don't know about this. And then on the 12th, it can be like almost like a vibe shift, the energy shift, where it's like, hmm, but what about this? Have you thought about this? You know? So I feel like that's the positive thing where if you're open to it, the universe could kind of give you like a handout or a leg up or like a little, glimpse into a better reality or a little treat, a little something that kind of like makes it easier, especially if you've been doing the work. And I also do think there's a sense of, honestly, y'all, I can't tell y'all, like, I really like this energy because I feel like there's times, especially if you true to this spiritual path, not used to this spiritual path, maybe there has been times where, especially like if you are a spiritualist and you're going through a spiritual initiation, bruh, God will leave you stranded in the dark where you just have to be in the dark and you have to climb yourself out of it and you just don't know what the F going on. You just there, you just like, well, God, I'm here. And you're looking around like a dark, empty room. Everything surrounding you is just darkness. It's like, well, I'm here, God, I'm doing what you told me to do, like, but this is not the energy of that. I feel like this energy is truly beautiful because I feel like this is the energy of God trying to call you somewhere higher or trying to pick you up and have you go somewhere higher, but there's like it logically makes sense. It's not a thing of like just complete blind faith, This is not a scenario where you're just called to ask to believe in something blindly or have blind faith and just like and just do it, like when God was like, like what was it? I'm so sorry, y'all. I grew up in the church. I should know this. But who had to kill their son? Was it Abraham? Had to sacrifice his son, on the altar. It was like, God, like, why do you want me to kill my son? God was like, just do it. And so he went to go kill his son. Then the angel was like, oh, wait, no, it was a joke. You don't have to actually sacrifice your son. Like, this is not that type of energy. It's that type of energy or more so of Moses. There was this documentary that I watched that talked about like the plagues or whatever, about how they kind of like logically made sense of the stuff that Moses was doing. Kind of something, I'm so sorry, y'all. I don't have all the concrete details, even though I should because this shit was a part of my childhood. But it's like something about the crickets, and then the frogs ate the crickets, so that explained why the frogs would come. And then something about some bacteria being in the sea, which is why it turned red or some shit like that. Like, so I feel like this is more of a sense of God wanting you to do something, but you kind of have the roadmap. You kind of have the part that makes sense too. So it's not like you're just being asked to walk in like complete blind faith. So it's almost a sense of, you know what? I think this could actually work out, and this is how this could actually work out. So I feel like it's a very beautiful energy if you're open to it. But there are going to be people who gonna get left behind. I don't feel sorry for y'all that's gonna get left behind. I really don't. Like, this is the type of people, like, as an astrologer, as a reader, I know some of y'all listen to this. I'm just letting you know that I can't stand this type of energy. But as an astrologer, as a reader, there'll be people who will come to you and be like, "Oh, Sage, what do I do? What do I do?" Da, 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 da. And I'll be like, "He cheating on you, girl. You need to leave." And be like, "Yeah, I know. I figured he was cheating on me." And then they stay stuck in a relationship, and 6 months later, they're like, "Sage, I got an STD. What do I do? What do I do?" And it's like, girl, what did I tell you 6 months ago? It's not gonna change. Like, like there's some people who are going to see the shiny thing that God is trying to offer them, or the universe is trying to offer them, and then they're just gonna be like, I like my shitty life. So on the 12th, if you're open, if you're open to the new, if you're open to the better, then you can receive it. And another thing that I'm gonna say before I move on to the 13th is that this, y'all, it's so important to do the spiritual work and expand your capacity, right? Because one thing that I've learned, and I noticed as an astrologer, that you will only receive, it's like the energy of the planets have their own, operate at the energy that your energy is capable of receiving, right? So, whereas a Jupiter transit for, well, okay, let me say this. It also depends on like your birth charts and your personal placement. So, take this with a grain of salt for like all the like super astrologers out there who are going to be like, she's generalizing Jupiter transit, but if someone has Jupiter Sagittarius on their 10th house conjunct the MC. Of course, their Jupiter transit is going to be better for them because their Jupiter really okay. Like, yeah, I get that, but just like, just you know, take what I'm saying here. So for somebody, a Jupiter transit could be like, let's use Venus. So for somebody, a Venus transit could be like an engagement or like the love of their life or a proposal, right? And versus somebody else, a Venus transit could just be another like average relationship with a shitty partner. And the planets can only operate in the energy that you operate in. So if you haven't done the deep work and you are still operating in lack, there's only so much the universe could bless you with, even if you are experiencing a positive transit. And so I think this is the thing that throws a lot of people off astrologically. Of course, there's a lot of different techniques and things that you can use, like, like zodiacal releasing and like transits and stuff like that, and evaluating the condition of the planet. Yes, like all of that is true, right? But if you are a person that your nervous system is wired for abusive treatment, it doesn't matter. You can have the best transit of your life. You are not going to be blessed with a healthy relationship because you have gridlocked yourself to that reality. So I truly 100% believe in astrology and the timing of astrology. Astrology is such a powerful tool, right? But the tool will only work in the capacity that you are open to. So if you're not open to divine, miraculous blessings, if you don't feel worthy of that, God will only give you, what you feel worthy of, which is why doing the work is so important. So when I say like sit with your emotions and release and, like move through this energy, I'm telling you to do this for a reason because if you don't, you will still be, you will get small good things when you can get much better good things. Where you can think that a move for you is moving to, another neighborhood in the city, where God really wants to move you to another country, but you're not open to that. So you have to like onion, like what does Shrek say about like onions and layers? Like you gotta peel them layers back. You gotta peel them layers back, baby. You gotta do the work. So on the 13th, we have Mercury conjunct the sun in Virgo. So I like this because again, there's just like an energy of like it's just like a beautiful breakthrough energy of clear understanding. And at first it could just be like, oh God, it could be a little bit heavy of like, damn, I gotta let this go. Oh my God. Okay, I gotta talk about this. So I used to be, I keep going off on all these all these tangents, but it's a podcast. Like, mm. It's kind of the point. But anyway, so like I used to be vegan, right? Vegan was not the best diet for me personally. I'm not going to argue about that. But for me, I feel personally feel like veganism is borderline eating disorder, kind of is eating disorder. But for me, let's just use me personally. So, like, if you're sensitive to that, I don't want to project down to other people, right? So, for me personally, veganism manifested as the eating disorder, right? And so, but I was doing it because I wanted it to be healthy. And I felt like this is what I had to do to be healthy. Like, this is what's necessary for me to be healthy. So, I'm going to do this veganism shit. And so when I came out of veganism and I started like nourishing my body, eating foods that was nourishing to me, and I started to see my body heal and I was like repairing. This is kind of similar to the phase that I'm going through now in my life personally, but with something else. And I started to heal my body by eating nourishing foods, right? And it was just like, damn. And I was repairing the damage, just a sense of like, damn, when you go through something and you're putting yourself through something. Again, it's like leaving a abusive relationship, realizing that, damn, I've been damaging me. Nobody told me I had to do this. Nobody put a gun up to my head and was like, only eat fruit, bitch. Like nobody did that. I did this to myself. I did this to myself, you know? And it's like I did something to myself that was so hurtful. And now that like my vision is clear, that the veil has been lifted up from over my eyes, I'm looking around, I'm taking inventory, and I'm left with this damage. And I have to repair the damage of what I did to myself, you know? Like it could be such a trippy feeling. It could feel so shitty. But there's also a sense of like of of happiness that you let that go and you're on the right track now. So I do believe that, you know, the 11th and 12th could kind of feel like that. Like, oh, like, damn, this is what I've been doing and it's not working out for me and I need to do something better, right? And then the 13th is really that clarity of this is what I need, like this is what I'm going to do, this is what's going to change my life. Like these are the next steps that I could follow that could kind of lead me more so into clarity, but there may be a little bit of emotional baggage there where it's like it's really time to let this go, you know? So I just said that to say if you feel like some grief or some weirdness about it, like that's perfectly okay, like that's perfectly normal. Just move through it and hold space for it and validate it. So on the 15th, we have Venus and Leo sextiling Mars and Libra. So this is a good self-care day. Um, People maybe wanting to find that balance of like feeling nice and treating themselves versus like amidst the chaos of everything that is going on. Um, and this is also a really good day to like experience being uplifted by your friends, affirmed by your friends, and especially if you have some difficult time. Um, and so it's kind of like cushioning those more so emotional. I do think a lot of this stuff is going to be emotional, but a lot of that emotional heavy lifting with like a good day out with the girls, right? Because Venus and Leo, she still wants to be seen, she still wants to be witnessed, she still wants to take up space, she still wants to look good, even though she may be like, damn, what the hell? You know? So kind of allow yourself to do that. And it also could be like again of also like a sense of knowing how kind of like I feel like this is also the energy of having a grounded sense of like truly understanding, not a sense of just like being in victim mode or beating yourself up or just being superly overly frustrated by scenarios, circumstances that have happened, and just kind of also having a sense of like I understood why this happened, but I don't resonate with this no more. I'm no longer operating in this energy. Like, let's move forward. So on the 17th, we have Mercury and Virgo opposing Saturn retrograde in Pisces. So there's a sense of you needing to embrace the structure and practical things that you need to do and heal to make a change and difference in your life. You know, so Mercury and Virgo, Mercury and Virgo just wants to track the spreadsheet, be like, well, I sent out this many emails. I put flyers here. I put flyers there. Like, what else do you want to me? And then Saturn and Pisces is again saying, okay, it's so cute that you're sending out the emails, you're checking off the spreadsheet, and you're doing whatever. But the change is not going to happen till you cut off this toxic person. So Saturn and Pisces is like regulate your nervous system. And Mercury and Virgo is like, fuck my nervous system. I'm looking at this data. So you have to blend and you have to marry both, right? You have to find a way that those energies blend for you, where it's like you're doing the work spiritually or emotionally, right? And it's like, okay, I'm doing this emotional work. Like this is my emotional work that I'm doing. And this is the practical work that I'm doing as well. So you have to find some way to blend that, even though you may not necessarily want to. So on the 18th, we have Mercury leaving Virgo and entering Libra. So I do feel like on the 1st to 17th, baby, like take advantage of that time. Ooh, from the 1st to the 17th, take advantage of that time. Like that's when you go be getting them downloads and that information that you like really need to hear that's go upgrade you and help you do better, right? So on the 18th, Mercury is going to enter Libra. So you're exiting the obsessive, analytical Virgo energy and entering the Libra energy where you're kind of going to be a little bit more detached and you have like a all-around view of things, right? So Mercury and Virgo, you're kind of getting these downloads of shit that you need to release, the energy that you've been operating in, whatever, whatever. And Mercury and Libra is kind of like, okay, I understand the perspective. I understand it's like a very like objective view of like, okay, this is here, this is there, but there's the facts. There's a level of detachment from it where you can just kind of accept things for what they are. Um, and then you're gonna have that same Mercury, the same day that it enters, Libra is going to oppose Neptune and Aries. It's going to make a trine to Uranus and Gemini at the same time. So, like I said, we have a lot of outer planets in the beginning of signs. So when they contact each other, it's gonna be like a double whammy. We got a lot of shit at like 0 1 degrees right now. Um, so I do feel like this is more divine inspiration, knowledge being revealed to you. And I love this. It's so beautiful, especially again, if you have taken this seriously in the first, like portion of the month from the 1st to the 17th to do that, work of like releasing and emotional detaching, that creates more room for you to be open to divine inspiration and knowledge being revealed to you. But there also could be a sense of like information overload or not like knowing where to go, not knowing what you want to do. But it's important that you have been doing the inner work again to know what resonates with you. So kind of getting out that energy of informational overload, you will know what energy resonates with you if you've been doing the work of knowing that okay, this is the direction that God wants me to go in. That's really the only way you're gonna really know. So on September 19th, we have Mercury in Libra trining Pluto in Aquarius. So try to avoid groupthink mentality on this day and try to avoid like wanting to do something just because it's on the status quo. So I feel like this is kind of conflicting with the energy that we're feeling earlier. It could be really confusing, but somebody said confusion is a choice. Like confusion is really a choice. Like a lot of times people be like, "Oh, I'm confused. I don't know what to do." It's because you fucking want to be confused. Like. So it's like God could be like, "Okay, like this could be a solution to your answers. Like pay attention to this idea. Like sit on it, develop it a little bit." And then Pluto and Aquarius could be like, don't you want to be like everybody else? Don't you want to have the thing that everybody else has? Like, and it could just kind of come almost with like a dark energy. Like, am I really going to do this? Like, am I really going to develop this idea? Like, am I really going to follow this thing? And it's kind of could be like a sense of maybe wanting to back out of it and maybe just being like, you know what? No, that's too much. Instead, I'm going to go after this, like, this thing that'll make me feel more comfortable pursuing or just information that resonates with me more because everybody else is doing it. Um, so embrace uniqueness and individuality. That's my only advice for that. And if you do embrace uniqueness and individuality, I do feel like this energy could actually be useful, and it's more so of, okay, like let's not do this and let's focus on this to embrace that uniqueness. So on the 19th, also Venus is entering Virgo. So Venus entering Virgo is kind of rough, y'all. So again, with the South Node being in Virgo, there's going to be a time during this transit where you do have to do like a little bit of that releasing stuff that's not the funnest to do. So whereas Venus and Leo is kind of like, oh, this is who I want to be. Venus and Virgo is just like, it could just be like very criticizing yourself. So your ego could take a hit at this point. Just don't become over critical of yourself. Stay grounded in the facts and remember to have a level of acceptance. It is important to work with what you have, and it's okay if it's not perfect surrender control. So there can be like a sense of like, okay, I'm accepting this new idea, this new thing that I want to go on. And so in order for me to accept this, I need to have this, this, and that. Or you're looking at yourself as like, shit, like how's this gonna work out for me? I don't have like, the loan that I want or this that I want or that I want and da 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 da. And it just could be like 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 in Django is like criticize. Like that's what it could be like. That's what it could feel like, but you to yourself. So yeah, it's important not to just beat yourself up. Work with what you have. And during this time, you may also want to become more isolated too, to really work with the themes, the energy that the eclipses are bringing to surface. And if so, like that's perfectly okay. Just don't become, again, like that Virgo energy of wanting to control. But with Venus being there and Venus not doing too good in that sign, it can be like almost like a hit to your ego a little bit. But I always, there's a saying that I heard where it says, a bad day for the ego is a good day for the soul. A bad day for the ego is a good day for the soul. I'm trying to remember who it comes from, but it's the man who is married to the lady who started Mary Ruth Organics. I can't remember his name, but that's where the quote comes from. I did not get that for myself. So throughout the whole month of September, I may put this in like the thumbnail, I don't know. A bad day for the ego, baby, is a good day for the soul. So on the 20th, we have that same Venus and Virgo squaring Uranus and Gemini. And again, like, don't get so hypercritical that you miss opportunities of growth. So it's like that sense of like, oh, I don't have this, I don't have that. Like, how can this work out? Instead of just kind of like being like, honestly, listen, in September, the only thing that you really have to do for real, the only thing that you really have to do for real, like the only hard work that you really have to do is just being open. All September is asking you to do is just be open. This whole month, all you just have to do is be open. Just be open. Just be open. If the universe is tell you, babe, this is not the best for you, all you gotta do is say okay. The universe is saying, I think that this will be a better fit for you. All you have to do is say okay. You don't have to figure out how it's going to happen. You don't have to go into control and try to take things to your own hand. You don't have to think about like the facts. Well, how can this work for me? I only got two pennies and a dime. It does not matter. Like all you have to do is be open and just surrender and let fate do the rest. Let fate do the rest. I think it's like so egotistical as humans when we try to like be in control of every little thing that's happening in our reality, but it's like if you had the consciousness of God or the consciousness of the universe, like you will go insane. It's too much for you to handle. You don't know how all the pieces are working out. Like, you don't know that this person is going to get fired next week or this person needs the same thing that you're, willing to give or somebody else doesn't want something that's going to benefit you. Like you have no idea how things are going to work out in your favor and you're not supposed to know because that's too overwhelming. So all you have to do is be open and to be and to trust and just truly surrender and things will start working out in your favor. So, um and on the 21st, we're having a Virgo solar eclipse, and this solar eclipse is opposing Saturn retrograde in Pisces. So honestly, this is linked to the Virgo new moon that we had in August, right? This Virgo solar eclipse is like part two, but more intense. So the Virgo new moon is kind of like, oh, like this could be nice. And then this, honestly, the energy of this eclipse is like the slamming of the door. So again, watch my eclipse episode that's going to come out where we talk about this Virgo solar eclipse. But man, this energy is like the energy of this chapter is complete in your life. This door is closed in your life. Like, let it go and be on to the next. So, there's a sense of one area of your life completely changing. And sometimes, even though we think we've made changes, like the underlying theme is the same energetically. So it's like you could think that you closed a door or a window in your life because let's say relationships, right? You leave one person and you go on to the next person, but you're still dating the same type of person. Like you still have the same toxic type. So if you still have the same toxic type, are you really like making change for real? And so I do think that that's kind of something to pay attention to. Did you do a change or did you like really do a change? Like, did you do a fake change or you swapping something out that has a new face, but that's actually the same thing? Or did you do a real change where it's like you've uprooted a belief, like you uprooted a pattern, a cycle, and you're like truly like letting that be the end of that. And I feel like this eclipse is going to expose that. Again, it's an eclipse, they're dramatic, they can feel heavy emotionally. Don't do nothing crazy, don't do nothing drastic. Just sit with the energy, sit with your emotions, sit with your feelings, allow whatever needs to come to the surface, release it and let it go and keep moving. So on the 22nd, we have Mars entering Scorpio. I love this. I really love this transit. This is really good. I do think that Mars in Scorpio is very good for like our agency. It's good for our willpower. It's good for a sense of direction. And it's also good for like strategy. So that sense of kind of like Mercury and Virgo, that Mars and Scorpio could be like this, but in a more so like more tangible way, in a less like idea thought process way, but in a way that's more so grounded in like action and reality and doing and being. Mars and Scorpio is I know what I need to do. I have the answers, like this is how we're gonna it's like real foot to pavement type stuff. Like this is what we're gonna do. This is how we're gonna work. And it's also stuff of like it's also an energy of things making sense and things just clicking, And I also do feel Mars and Scorpio is not afraid to embrace that deepness. So whereas, you kind of have all this like deep emotional stuff, this deep rooting of energy, like Mars and Scorpio is not afraid to go there. Mars and Scorpio is not afraid to confront the things that need to be confronted. And another thing that is very, very beneficial about this energy, because not necessarily in September, but as we get into October and November, when you have Mars there in a water sign with Jupiter and Saturn in a water sign, we're gonna get into this energy where Mars, Saturn, and Jupiter are working together very beautifully. So you have your willpower and your agency being supported by structure and discipline and being supported by luck and abundance. So it's truly like a really, really beautiful time. And then also on the 22nd, we have the sun entering Libra. So happy Libra season, happy birthday to all the Libras. Um, so on the September 23rd through the rest of the month, this is also another big energy shift. So we have on the 23rd, Libra Sun opposing Neptune in Aries and trining Uranus in Gemini. So when something is going into, like those energies are at the beginning. So, you know, it's hitting both. It's hitting that both that Neptune and Aries energy and that Uranus and Gemini energy. So again, with the sun being in Libra, remember to hold on to your individuality. Know where you start and know where others stop. Know where you need to listen to help other people and do not be self-absorbed and self-sacrificial, right? because Libra has this energy of like wanting to help, but Libra kind of wants to help from a superficial way. More than anything, like sometimes a mature Libra energy wants to help, but immature Libra energy wants to be liked. So sometimes Libra will help out of the energy of wanting to be liked. So it's important to detach from that energy of wanting to be liked and do stuff just because it's like it's palatable. Like don't abandon your dreams or the things that you are being called to embrace and choose to do something that is palatable. Like don't live for other people. And Neptune and Aries could really distort that sense of individualism or that feeling of individualism. So you want to be grounded in your reality and grounded in who you are. And of course, with Uranus and Gemini, still just maintain a sense of openness and being open to new ideas, new information, new concepts. But again, like don't overly identify things because Neptune and Uranus are trining each other at the same time. So Neptune and Uranus existing in a trine in the signs of Aries and Gemini is being overly confident in something that you have no idea about. So if you just like, there's a sense of being open to new ideas, being open to new directions, but a lot of information to like digest and grow root and take root and grow into something that has like legs, arms, could think and breathe. Don't just like take this new baby energy, be overly confident in it, and just like throw everything into it almost recklessly. It's almost like a sense of, you're being tricked by this Uranus Neptune energy because it'll almost feel a little bit manic for real. So the thing that like the divine is calling you to do that you may be scared to do is gonna come with like a sense of soberness of like layers and things that you need to shed in order to become this new person. Because go come with a sacrifice. Your new life is always going to ask for your old life to be laid to rest. But if there's just like a sense of something that you want to do, it's kind of like this manic sense of like, oh yeah, this is gonna change my life. This is gonna do everything. I'm gonna do, 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 do. You know what? I'm gonna get all this money. I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna do that, and I'm gonna and this person can help me. That's a red flag. So try and stay away from that energy, but also remember like not to be self-sacrificial to do something for someone else or to make other people comfortable or things of that nature. Be open to new ideas, but like allow them to naturally go through the course of coming into actualization instead of just like hopping on something and like projecting this fantasy of it solving all your problems and being the answer to all your problems. So on the 24th, we have Libra Sun trine Pluto in Aquarius. And this is really good ego death energy. Like, I actually like this because the sun doesn't do well in Aquarius. The sun also doesn't do well in Libra. And the sun is really our ego, it's our identity. And back to the quote that I said before, a bad day for the ego is a good day for the soul. So this is the energy of you truly be able to like sit with yourself and look at your shit. Like a lot of times we don't want to look at our shit. But this is the energy of being like, you know what? I ain't shit. And this is what I need to do to be better. So I feel like this is really good. And I do think that this is something that we should embrace. And then we should also embrace the death of leaving things, of surrendering things that don't work for us. And Libra also does have this nice objectivity where if you think of Libra, kind of think about a judge, like judges tend to be very fair if they're a good judge, if they're good at their job. They can be like, you know what? Or think about judging like family court or something like that. It's like, the child gets with you on this days and you pay this much in child support and the child has to da, da, da. It's like a sense of fairness or justice being restored. So this Libra energy mixed with Aquarius energy could just be like you looking at the facts and looking at the details and be like, okay, I see where I messed up here. I see that this is this. I see that this is that. Like, but this is how we're rectifying this information. It's kind of like taking in a lot of information, evaluating it, and just being like, all right, this is how I can use that constructively. This is what I can do with this. And then we also have Mars and Scorpio square Pluto and Aquarius. So red flag for power dynamics. At this point in the month, we can be in the energy of you like truly embracing the calling and people feeling some type of way about that. So you want to be aware of that and you want to like be aware, of that energy of you getting into weird power dynamics or people trying to control you or something like that, just know that that is never something that you have to deal with. I don't condone that type of stuff on this channel. But um again, it's good for ego death energy. Don't allow people to be controlling of you. And this is really intense, so give yourself grace on this day if it's one of those days that feel like a little bit heavy. And this could also be just like desperate. And this could also be too like you feeling shitty about yourself, and well, I hope I don't attract this vibration of people. But this could also be like you feeling shitty. Well, we're all human, but if you feel this way is one thing, but acting on it is another. So it could be like you feeling some type of way about yourself and you are grasping at like desperate pleas of like control and agency. So you want to control something and you just going and doing something rash or making a rash decision because you want to do something that makes you feel powerful after you've been dealing with all this intense eclipse energy that's asking you to like change and grow and evolve as a person. If you're not ready to do that, there can be like desperate attempts at power plays or desperate attempts that to make you feel like, the man or make you feel like the woman to you like, like some sort of get back or whatever. But okay, so that's the astrology for September. This was definitely long. I hope y'all enjoyed this podcast episode. This is a truly special month. I feel like the only thing you have to do is just be open. And I feel like the only thing you have to do is surrender your ego. And if you do those two things, you will be okay. If you ever have any questions or want personal guidance from me, link in the description. Please check out my website because I am a working astrologer and you can work with me directly one-on-one if you want, some like deeper, more intimate guidance. Also, in the link of this description, you will find a my general horoscope for September, and you will find a calendar and deep dives on the lunations. I'm giving that as a freebie so you guys could kind of see how I write my horoscopes, how I have calendars, because I'm thinking about doing an offering where it is something where to make it accessible on my website if you kind of want that information for yourself. So I'm gonna give it away for free this month to just kind of test it out and hopefully y'all give me feedback on it and see what you think. Um, so yeah, thank you. If you're listening on Spotify and Apple Podcasts and you're not listening on YouTube, my website is just sagetheastrologer77.com. Go there and you'll be able to find the things I'm talking about. But I love you guys. Thank you so much. And bye.